www.redhotradio.fm.
President Trump has granted a federal pardon for the growth and development leader, Larry Hoover. However, the 73-year-old is not at home with his family yet. We have our Urban Translator here, the good Reverend Dr. Wallace Gator Bradley, and he's going to explain what this pardon truly means and what things need to happen next to truly free Larry Hoover. Thank you for being here.
Hey,
how are you?
I'm blessed. To God be the glory. We both have witnessed, as well as the world has witnessed, what President Trump did when he made a move through the pardon. He made it where he got rid of a lifetime sentence for Larry Hoover and made it time considered served, thereby making it where his federal cases, he could be freed immediately. He's no longer in the federal system. But there were federal prosecutors that knew eventually that this day was going to come, be it through the courts or be it through a pardon. Yet they knew that the state had it where he still had to do 200 years. So that's why everyone was saying, yeah, President Trump did what he did, but he's still not free. I'm of the opinion and the belief that everything that happens is because God wanted to happen. And I feel that God touched Trump at the prescribed time on his clock, because Barack Obama didn't do it. It wasn't meant for Barack Obama to do it. Trump didn't do it the first time when Kanye West was talking to him. God said it wasn't meant to happen then. Biden didn't do it. It wasn't meant for Biden to do it. But Biden freed Shorty G, Greg Michelle. Trump comes back. This time he did it, but he's doing so many other things. You know what I mean? And again, that was the first step. So if you don't mind, let me explain that first step. Me and Larry like wearing alligator shoes.
Okay.
Going back 50 years to now. And the shoe company, they having a sale. So they say, get here at 8 o'clock, you get the sale. But when you get there at 8 o'clock, you only get one of the shoes. So you gotta wait till 9 o'clock to get the other shoe. So you be ready to go to the party at 10 o'clock. So what Trump did, one of the shoes, I'm gonna say the left shoe,
okay,
is what he gave Larry Hoover. J.B. Pritzker has the right shoe.
That's the governor.
That's the governor of Illinois.
Illinois, okay.
They got to pardon him. I'm gonna make it more simpler than that.
Okay.
All the power that Trump has, he was found guilty of 34 counts. He can't give himself a pardon for the 34 counts because those were state charges. Only the governor of New York can give Trump a pardon for those cases. The power that Trump has dealing with federal crimes. We witnessed where he got rid of the indictment, the investigation, he put his people in and threw the other people out. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Still, he couldn't pardon himself for the 34 charges that he was found guilty of, because those were state charges, not federal charges.
Okay.
Larry Hoover had federal charges and state charges. And one thing I do know, that God is going to touch J.B. Pritzker's heart and soul and going to allow him to pardon Larry Hoover. Because I know J.B. Pritzker. I was instrumental in him winning the first election. Okay, I was with him before a lot of people started making endorsements of him, because I do my research. Everybody was talking about running for governor, who should run for governor. And when I saw that he spent $100+ million to help those who were wrongfully convicted and those who had unjust sentences, I said, that's a man that should be governor. So I do know, and this guy's name is Gerald Reed, was a friend of mine, had life, became a client of mine. I'm his Urban Translator, okay? And JB pardoned him from a double murder, health reasons. Larry fits into that as well. Everybody talking about Republicans and some Democrats don't feel that they should do that for Larry. But when you check the history, that's been done for a lot of other people, black and white and mass murderers and everything else. Again, I say, God is in control of everything. And what I mean by that, that's another Urban Translator breaking it down, because I want your viewing audience to understand, so I'm speaking not above your head. Nelson Mandela had the ANC, and apartheid is what they was fighting against. And it got violent. So they locked up a good man, which was Nelson Mandela. And they put him and his guys on an island to break these rocks up. And they knew that the dust from the rocks was meant really to kill them. But God wouldn't let it happen. God made it when it was the right time for Nelson Mandela to be free. And I tell everybody, well, I asked the question, what was Mandela's wife's name?
Her name was Winnie Mandela.
Okay.
Yes.
Larry Hoover, Gangster Disciples, GDs, going from a negative to a positive, growth and development. The powers that be that try to erase the good things from growth and development and try to say it's a new world order GD, because they're using the alphabet game. So when they come to me and say, Gator, what's the difference between Gangster Disciple and GD? I say, it's obvious. They say, what you mean it's obvious? It's the O that if you put it between G and D, that's God. So here we are. And what's Larry Hoover's wife's name? Wendy. Rest my case. You
Tell
know,
us your background.
Juvenile delinquent. End up in Audi home, 1968. Right after Martin Luther King, I got murdered. I was going to a high school. I just started going to high school in Morgan Park High. And Morgan Park was split down racial lines. You had, on one side, it was white. The other side was black. Okay, we used to have to fight to go to the library on Longwood. Okay, because that side was white. That was the Beverly side, that we call it, right? So when that happened, everybody was upset around the world. And we got to fighting with the gang, white gang there. They called them the greasers. You know, they had the black leather jackets and the grease in their head, you know what I mean? And me and another guy got into it with the white guys and threw the white boy over the Reverend. At that point, they charged the blacks with mob action. By me being a juvenile, I ended up in the audio, me and the other guy. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so our parents could still come and get us. I didn't understand then. I felt like everybody was upset because of what happened to Martin Luther King, a man of peace. And they murdered him. And he was our standard bearer for fighting for our rights. I was in 68. We had just got the rights from 1964 Act that Trump are now reversing just by putting a word in the front of it and say, reverse the Civil Rights Act. It don't mean nothing now. Reverse affirmative action, okay? Because we feel they're not letting whites into, could you imagine that? They're not letting whites and enough Asians into Howard University when they really didn't want us to go to Harvard. So from Nadion to the county jail to the penitentiary. I meet Hoover in, I think it was 69 or late 68. I was in a gang called the Lynchman. Lynchman is Suricon gangster. Larry Hoover was over gangsters. You have Jeff Ford that was over the Stones. You have David Bosque that was over the Disciples. So Larry had made a decision, let's branch out and reach every different gangster gang or, you know, community, whatever it is, that had gangster up under it, and let's bring them all together. So you end up having three main gangs on the south side: Stones, Disciples, and gangsters. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. From there, we all ended up in the penitentiary. I got 4 years in the day for an armed robbery. It started off, I got 2 years probation for a burglary. Then I caught a guy cheating at the crap game. Guys had guns, drugs, everything. So when the police came, plenty guns, plenty drugs. But because the person that had identified me gave the impression like I was sticking all them up. But they knew that couldn't happen. Anyway, I get caught for the armed robbery. I was on 2 years probation. When I copped out for the probation, and I caught the robbery, I ended before the same judge. So the judge say, well, Mr. Bradley, the victim is not coming to court. There's no witnesses coming to court. I said, well, cool. Y'all wasn't no reason for me. He knew I didn't stick. I just told him to give my money back. But he said no. When you took the plea deal for the burglary, I could have gave you 5 to 15. So since you violated my probation, I can still give you 5 to 15. He said, now, if you plead and take this armed robbery where you don't have no witness, no victim, I'll give you 4 years in a day. I became a mathematician that day. I'll take that 4 years And at that point, doing then, it made me a 2-time loser. Had I caught another case, taking a slice of pizza, I'd have been a 3-time loser and would have got life. I was in 70 before I come out to join and was through with parole and all that in 79. And I ain't been back.
Right now, you're a reverend about to have a
be ordained.
Reverend doctor. Let me say that right. Reverend doctor.
Yeah.
And you're about to be ordained.
Right.
And is your wife also?
You know, my wife, I'm glad you mentioned that. She got her doctorate degree in divinity.
Beautiful.
I got my doctorate degree in urban ministry and social justice.
Beautiful.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when we sit down, she got a little black thing on with the red. I got mine on hats. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I've been with her for 43 years. As you know, I got married over in Israel.
Yes.
In Dimona, Israel.
Yes.
You know, with Rabbi Ben-Ami and Prince Asiel.
Yes.
And it was Prince Asiel giving me the spiritual guidance, the understanding of international law spiritually. And him being Warren Brown before he became Prince Asiel,
yes,
was preparing me to go from Gator or to Wallace Bradley to Gator to Wallace Bradley. This fighting for Larry Hoover's freedom is not new to me. We've been on this journey since 1992 to free Larry Hoover, with the guidance and support and the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that I was getting from Prince Asiel. For those that need to know what it is I'm talking about when I say Dimona, Israel, in 1968, it was African Americans from Chicago that went over to Israel by virtue of scripture, to the point that the Israeli government couldn't throw them out of Israel. And they built
the Village of Peace.
A Village of Peace. They had the restaurants everywhere. Spain, Chicago, New York, DC, teaching people how to eat to live. Vegan. The restaurant now here in Chicago is So Veg. Went from So Vegetarian to So Veg City. Same spot. When I see the young adults that's running and living there, I watch them as children. For them to be here, they got citizenship in Israel as well as in America. I know I'm going off the beaten path, but I'm talking about my journey. Prince, you know, I call him the Shock Rev, everybody knows Prince Asiel Ben Israel. Made it where we can go behind the walls of the institution, because he too had a journey with the law. But because of his faith in God, that's why when they was coming to me, well, Gator, what's happening? Hey, God used them as a vessel. Talking about Trump. Well, keep talking about God, because that's what it is. And I know God is gonna allow JB president as a vessel to free Larry Hoover, so we have both shoes.
So for those of you who are just joining us in this conversation, we have the Urban Translator, aka Dr. Wallace Gator Bradley, who is here telling us what's going on with this pardon that President Trump has granted but Larry Hoover is not at home. He's not free. So there's more work that needs to be done in order to let this legend who has grown very much from that 20-something-year-old person that was incarcerated back in the 70s.
If you're sincere about freeing Larry Hoover, and the question is asked, well, what can we do? You can start off by saying, to God be the glory, and pray to God. We don't need a dozen, just 2 or 3 in his name. Pray to God that he would touch the heart and soul of the Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker, and asking God to allow J.B. Pritzker, like he allowed Trump, to grant Larry a pardon in the state of Illinois for the crime that he was doing time for. I'm hearing the prayers especially of his wife, Wendy, his son, Larry, his other son, Larry, his other son, Tyree, for his grandchildren. You know what I mean? Yes. To be able to touch him, he hasn't touched them. Yes. The magnificent thing about Larry and Wendy, they was able to raise their children. And Larry was very much a part of it, even though he was behind the wall. I know we're talking about Larry, but I see Larry and Chairman Fred as being the same type of individuals. Chairman Fred Hampton was in the womb of his mother when the police and all of them came in and killed Fred Hampton. And his mother was laying next to her. I think she may have got shot too. Larry Hoover Jr. was in the womb of his mother when his father got locked up. Neither one of them was able to catch a football from their father, or their father to walk alongside them with a bike to learn how to ride the bike, or learn how to roller skate, or catch a ball or anything. Yet, don't you find it more miraculous that they look exactly like their daddy? And got that spirit, especially Larry Jr., because his father let him know you don't want to be the gangster disciple
of the old.
You will be about growth, and that's what I'm talking about.
And elevate, put that O in the middle.
In the middle, that's it. And if God touched Trump in the name of redemption, fairness, and humanity, for him to pardon Larry Hoover while he was pardoning everybody else at a price tag, and I'm just talking about that is factual. I got to thank Trump for what he did, because I know he was a vessel used by God to do it. But at the same time, he didn't really love God. I'm a God-fearing man. If it was ulterior motive, we know Trump. Everybody know that Trump don't do nothing unless he feel he got something coming. And he ain't ashamed. He done made it almost like the White House has became a flea market. I'm just dealing with truth. I ain't knocking that. I'm speaking truth, and I'm speaking truth, and I'm speaking God, because I want him to cover me.
That's right. I hear you. No matter what religion you are.
Right.
Grace. Grace is a thing that
and mercy
should cover. Grace and mercy, especially after all of these years. Right?
Right. Look at his mind. Sharper than ever. 27, maybe almost 30 years. into solitary confinement. Sharper than ever. Nobody but God. I'm just saying what it is. And look, but I know God intends for him to be free in this season, and he will be free